Hello, everyone. Welcome to this 2024 session of Weave. Are we? Would like to put on my camera again. Yes, this is better. Okay, very good. Good afternoon, everyone. Now we can start this information session on Weave 2024. So this information session is on the Weave initiative and in particular for Belgian researchers. So those researchers that are eligible for funding from the FWO and the FNRS. How will this information session go down this afternoon? So we will start with a general overview of Weave and Weave in Belgium as well. Then we will go into the specifics of Weave within the FNRS this year, after which my colleague Tine will continue to give the specifics on Weave within FWO. And then we will finish, my colleague Florence Quist will finish with the question and answers that we have already received. And it is, of course, also possible in between to ask all your questions via the Q&A functionality of Zoom. And so then those questions that can be answered easily or that are specific for one person will be answered directly. And the more general questions that can be of interest to everybody will be taken at the end, and we will answer them together, all four panelists that are present. I would like to give the word to Tina now, who will present Weave in general.
Yes, thank you very much, Joël. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tine Jacobs. I'm Advisor International Affairs at the FWO, and it's my pleasure to present you in the coming slides the general background of the WEAF initiative, and then, of course, more specifically, WEAF within Belgium. To start with, we first have for you a video. It's less than 2 minutes, so let's go ahead and play. I hope the sound is okay. If not, I'm sure one of my colleagues will
cross-European
inform me.
initiative to fund and support excellent international research projects. It allows researchers from up to 3 different countries or regions to apply for funding through a single evaluation procedure. Weave aims to make it easier for researchers to collaborate across borders and simplify submission and selection procedures. By enabling bilateral as well as trilateral scientific cooperation within Europe, Weave contributes to the European research area. To apply, a team of researchers choose one coordinating applicant who submits the joint proposal to their respective funding organisation. The other researchers then submit a copy of the proposal to their own funding agencies. Weave is based on the lead agency procedure principle. The funder that receives the proposal evaluates it according to its internal rules. the funding recommendation is communicated to the other funders involved. You can check where, when, and how to apply using the Find Your Funding tool on the WEAV website. Enter the corresponding organisations, potential start date, and duration of the project. Click Submit and the tool will search for opportunities and provide all relevant information, including submission links.
So this was the WEAV video. You can always have another look at it on another time, of course. So it was already nicely explained in the video, but the WEAV initiative is actually completely based on the lead agency procedure principle. How does this work in a nutshell, in a more schematic overview? So you can look for opportunities with your partners abroad through the WEAV website. Then, of course, two research teams or researchers, they partner up. You have a researcher from country A or region A and a researcher from country B. They draft together a joint collaborative research project. It is very crucial that the added value of each team is, of course, well justified within the proposal. And everything, also the budget, needs to be clearly justified in the proposal that you submit. Where you submit, this is a free choice of the applicants. So they are completely free where they submit, but please be aware that there is a WEAV threshold in place, a success rate, which is kept at 20%. In another step, the joint proposal is submitted to one agency, being the lead agency. The other agency, the other funding, becomes the partner agency. Be aware that besides the submission of the complete project to the lead agency, an administrative submission also needs to be done to the partner agency within 7 days after the lead agency deadline. Of course, both funding agencies get into contact with each other. They inform each other about the submissions that have been done. And they are also responsible for the eligibility check of their own researchers. The communication goes through the lead agency. Please make sure that all the partners involved are eligible and that they comply with the rules of their respective agency. Afterwards, the lead agency is responsible for the entire evaluation of the complete proposal and is also responsible of the final funding recommendation, the decision, excuse me. Of course, after the decision has been taken, the lead agency informs the partner agency and they ratify this funding recommendation. After this step, the lead agency will make up a contract for their own researchers and the partner agency does the same at their side. So this means that the funding remains within the borders. What is the added value of WEAV, you might ask yourself? Well, WEAV is mainly based on balanced collaboration and also a balanced funding because both sides can apply for funding that is needed by each partner. It is a bottom-up initiative, so there are no thematic restrictions. That's why WEAV is complementary to the ERANETs, partnerships, etc. There is no double jeopardy because it's a single application process. It's only the lead agency that evaluates the proposals, and the lead agency does a funding recommendation to the involved partner agencies. WEAV is not a new channel, so the applicants, they are actually familiar with the regulations because WEAV is always embedded in an already existing funding program within the funding agency. Here you see a slide of the current formal WEAV partners. So we are 12. You can see FWO and FNRS. And besides us, you see the other WEAV partners that already signed the WEAV agreement. Here is a map, a geographical division of the partners. In practice, applicants in Belgium, they have two possibilities. So they can choose to submit the full proposal to their own funding agencies for which they are eligible. If you choose to submit your proposal to the FWO, you submit it through the channel of the Junior and Senior Research Projects Fundamental Research. If you choose to submit a proposal to the FNRS, it's within the channel of Projet de Recherche, the PDR call. So you submit a full proposal with budget details for all partners, and the administrative submission has to be done to the partner agency. You follow the regular evaluation procedure of the lead agency, also the timing. So you are well aware of this since you are already probably familiar with the regular channels of the FWO and FNRS. Another possibility is to submit the full proposal elsewhere, so to another funding agency than the FWO or the FNRS. For researchers from the Flemish community, you can submit the proposal to the colleagues of ARIS, Slovenia, DFG, Germany, FWO-F Austria, FNR Luxembourg. Of course, FNRS is listed here again, the Walloon-speaking part of Belgium, NCN Poland, SNSF Switzerland, and FORMAS Sweden. For researchers coming from the French-speaking community, you can choose to submit to DFG Germany, FWO Flanders, FNR Luxembourg, or SNSF Switzerland. So the lead partner submits the full proposal with budget details for all partners to the lead agency abroad. Administrative submission needs to be done to the FWO and the FNRS, and you follow the regular evaluation procedure and timing of the lead agency. When you submit to the FWO, you see at the corner in the right, you see that there are also trilateral combinations allowed with partners from one of those countries. When you submit to the FWO, the deadline for this call is the 2nd of April, not the 1st, because this is a public holiday, it's Easter Monday, so the deadline is postponed to Tuesday, 2nd of April. You need to do this administrative submission to the FNRS before the 9th of April. Please make sure to upload an identical PDF, an identical copy of the proposal that has been submitted to the FWO. All the regulations of FWO and FNRS apply, including the project quota. So Flemish researchers from Flanders, they have to abide to all the rules, conditions of the FWO. Researchers from the French-speaking community have to comply with the rules of the FNRS. The project duration is maximally 4 years, and there is an equal project duration on both sides. The FWO performs the evaluation, and we do a funding recommendation towards the FNRS. This decision is ratified in December, and the projects actually start on the 1st of January 2025. If the consortium decides to submit to the FNRS, so FNRS becomes lead agency, FWO is partner agency. In that case, you can also partner up with colleagues from Luxembourg, Germany, Switzerland. So those are the trilateral possibilities. The deadline for submission to FNRS is the 9th of July. Within 7 calendar days, you need to do the administrative submission to the FWO, so before the 16th of July. Again, the regulations of the funding agency from which you ask funding, you need to comply with those rules, of course. The project duration is again maximally 4 years, and in this case, FNRS performs the evaluation and does a funding recommendation towards the FWO. It is ratified by the FWO in December, and projects start again on the 1st of January 2025. On this slide, you can see the collaboration within Belgium in our previous call in 2023. So as you can see, in total, FWO as lead, we received 33 submissions, of which 11 were granted. With FNRS as lead, there were 28 submissions and 9 were granted. For those of you who maybe attended the info session of last call, so beginning of 2023, you might notice indeed that there is an increase of the numbers. So in total, FWO as lead and FNRS as lead, we had in the previous call 2022, we had 41 submitted, so now 61. And there were 11 granted in 2022, and now there were 20 granted in total. So we see indeed an increase in interest in WEAF, which makes us, of course, happy to see this increase. I now leave the floor up to Joël to present to you WEAF within the FNRS.
Yes, so we will go through the details of weave within the FNRS. Just waiting to get control of the presentation. And I have it now normally. Yes. Oh, one moment. So just if you go back to last year for the FNRS, then you can see, so the FNRS collaborated with Luxembourg, Switzerland, Flanders, and Germany in 2023. And in the calls of our partners, which are really what we call the weave calls, so there's 4 of them in total. There was a total of 53 submissions in those calls and 17 projects granted. And you can see how this is divided between the different calls of the different partners. So with the SNSF in Switzerland, there are always 2 calls, and there was a total of 1 project granted for a total of 6 submitted. As you can see, our call with FWO is by far the most popular, and these are the same numbers, of course, that Tina just showed as well. So 33 and 11 of them granted. With Luxembourg in their call, there were a few submissions, but a lot of success because there was 1 proposal submitted and 1 project granted. And finally, with DFG, 13 proposals were submitted, and the total of 4 projects were granted. So that is the calls of our partners. Within our PDR call of 2023, there were there were a bit less submissions, but almost at the same level. There were 45 submissions and 13 projects granted. As you can see, the numbers are the wrong side around, and you can see the specifics here. So where these projects were granted. So there was 1 project submitted with FNR, and again 1 project granted. There were 2 projects granted on 3 submitted with the Swiss, and here again you can see the number of proposals. So there were 24 granted, of 24 submitted with FWO and 8 granted. And so there is a slight difference here because there's also a trilateral, if I'm not mistaken, that was granted. And finally, so on the bilateral level, there were 2 projects granted for 11 submitted with the Germans with DFG. So this year, again, nothing changes for the FNRS. We, again, have 4 partners. So we will collaborate with Luxembourg, Switzerland, Flanders, and Germany again. And so, as I already explained, this is very important to understand. So which is the lead agency? Where is the main application submitted? So if you participate in the call of one of our partners, so so the German call, the call of the Swiss, the call of Luxembourg, or the FWO call, this is within weave. And otherwise you participate with the same partners within our own call, our PDR call, which is always open at the end of spring until the beginning of summertime. So there's, of course, the differences between those. So if you submit in the call of our partners, you're within weave. And here, of course, the partner agency does the evaluation. And the French-speaking Belgian researchers will have to also do a submission via eSpace, at least within 7 days after the general call closure. So here, it's important to understand as well that the weave rules apply. You can only only apply for one weave proposal at the same time. So if you decide to participate in the call with the Germans, for example, you cannot at the same moment also apply with within the Swiss call at the same time. So those proposals that are submitted, they are in direct competition with all the other proposals submitted in that call. And so you will have to be among the top 20% of those proposals to be selected in the weave call. And so the FNRS can ratify the funding proposition of the partner agency after we get the results internally. And then finally, the partner agency first announces the results to its to the promoters locally, and then afterwards the FNRS, it's almost simultaneously can do that as well for the French-speaking researchers. And when you are within our PDR call, it's the FNRS that does the evaluation. And so the weave partners should, the partners that participate in our PDR call, they should also make a submission to their respective agencies within 7 days after our call closure. And here, for the French-speaking applicants, it's important to realize that the PDR rules apply. These are, for us, normal PDR applications with or without weave partners, and the PDR rules designate that there's only one application that you can do per call. So when the proposals are submitted, they are in direct competition with all the other PDR proposals that are submitted and evaluated by our 14 scientific panels. So after our evaluation procedure, the FNRS does a funding proposition to our partners, and they, after that, ratify our decision according to their procedures, after which we announce the results first, and our partners can announce them quite quickly afterwards as well. If we go into detail of the FNRS as a partner agency in the call with Luxembourg, so this call is currently open. It's the core call of the FNR. So you can submit proposals between 2 or 4 years, and this is important to realize that if you have a partner from Germany involved, so if you do a trilateral in this call, then the proposal needs to be 3 years. The deadline at the FNR this year is on the 17th of April, and another administrative deadline at the FNRS to submit via eSpace for our researchers 1 week later on the 24th of April. And so if you have a trilateral project, the other parties need to check as well what they need to do and if they need to submit and when they need to submit with their agency. Afterwards, the evaluation is done by the lead agency, which is the FNR in this case, and so FNR makes the first decision and proposes the FNRS to ratify the decision afterwards. And these projects should start on the January 1st of 2025. With the Swiss, it's very similar. So for SNSF, it's their instrument which is called Encouragement de Projet. But what is different here is that there are two deadlines for the Swiss. So there's a first deadline in April, on April the 2nd this year, and there's a second deadline on October the 1st in 2024. So again, here projects should be 2 or 4 years, but if it is a trilateral with a partner from Germany, automatically the project should be booked for 3 years. So here again, the FNRS also has, of course, these deadlines 1 week later for the French-speaking applicants to make an administrative submission in our system as well. And if it is a trilateral again, those partners participating should check as well with their agencies when they need to submit on their side. Afterwards, the Swiss will do the evaluation and then ratify with the FNRS. And for the April deadline, should you be selected for funding, the project will start on the 1st of January 2025. And for the second deadline this year in October, the project would start on June 1st of 2025. Then getting back to the call of our partners, FWO. So as has already been said, this is the junior and senior research projects call, which is currently open and which will close on the 2nd of April. So once again, the French-speaking partners 1 week after that deadline on the 9th of April will also have to do a submission via eSpace. And again, as well, so if there is a third partner involved, this partner should also check with its funding agency when and how it should submit administratively on that side. As said before, so FWO is responsible for the evaluation procedure. FWO makes the first decision on the funding of proposals, which it will propose to the FNRS, and the FNRS will ratify this, and projects then afterwards should start on January the 1st of 2025. Then finally, the special one, I would almost say, which is when the Germans are in the lead. So this is within their instruments, which is called individual research grants. So this this call closes, so to speak, on April the 2nd this year, which means that if you want to participate with the Germans in their call, they need to submit before that date. After that date, it would only be evaluated 1 year later. So that's important to understand. And then, so what is very different here is that the project duration here is always 3 years. And so this also means that if you ask for a doctoral student within the project, it is also a project of 3 years. So you ask for a doctoral student for 36 months. And when the project is running, you can ask for an extra year of funding. And this is not included in the submitted budget and will be given to you in extra. So, and there it's the evaluation procedure of the Germans that applies, and normally projects should start that are selected on January the 1st of 2025 as well. So just to summarize that, so when the FNRS is the partner agency, and when you apply within the calls of our partners from Luxembourg, Switzerland, Flanders, or Germany, you see here the details of the deadlines, the project durations that you can ask for, the maximum budget as well that you can ask for, and so this is the thing that is particular here. So for DFG, it's only a 3-year budget that you can ask, whereas for all the others, you can ask a 2 or a 4-year project. And normally, so all calls of all projects should start on January the 1st, 2025, except, like I said, the second call with SNSF, which only closes in October, and project here should start on June the 1st on 2025. And then we go to the other way around. We go to our PDR call. So here we put together the way we work with Luxembourg and Switzerland, FNR and SNSF, because they work exactly in the same manner. So the French-speaking researcher is responsible for submitting a proposal in our PDR call. And if he works with the one or two partners from FNR and SNSF, they need to submit, make an administrative submission on their side as well. So here the project duration of a PDR is always 2 or 4 years. And normally the FNRS deadline this year will fall on the 9th of July of 2024. And so the partners need to submit 7 working days afterwards at their respective agencies. The FNRS will do the evaluation, after which it will propose the results to its partners that can then afterwards ratify those results, and projects should start on January the 1st, as is normal for our PDR projects. Then again, we move to our PDR call and including a partner from Flanders. So again, of course, you need to submit in our PDR call. The Flemish partners should submit within 7 working days to FWO and administrative submission as well. The FNRS does the evaluation and then afterwards proposes the results to FWO, which ratifies the results, and any selected projects will start on January the 1st, 2025. And then finally, the special cooperation with the Germans again, special in the sense that it's a normal submission in the PDR call. The German partners need to submit the DFG according to their rules within 7 days after our deadline, which is on the 9th of July. And here, what is special again, of course, is it's a duration of 3 years, but you can ask for the total 4-year budget in this case. That's why it's indicated here. So if there's only one university participating from French-speaking Belgium, there's a maximum of 336,000 euros. And if you have several research institutions from Belgium, from French-speaking Belgium participating, you can ask for a total budget of 483,000 euros as a total budget. So in this case, it's a 3-year project, but you should include the total cost for a doctoral student for 4 years, so 48 months. And then afterwards, it goes through the FNRS evaluation. The FNRS proposes gives a funding proposal to the Germans, which they afterwards need to ratify, and DFG will need more time to ratify this decision. So projects will only start on April the 1st of 2025. And then finally, of course, you can also have trilateral collaborations, which work, of course, exactly in the same manner. So submitting to the PDR call, the 2 partners need to submit administratively on their side to their agencies as well. And the project duration normally is 2 or 4 years. But if there is also a partner from Germany involved, it automatically becomes 3 years. The deadline, of course, of our PDR call is on the 9th of July. And all partners participating should also submit to their agencies within 7 days after our call. Afterwards, we evaluate the proposal, and then the project start date, which is normally for a project without partners from Germany, is on January the 1st, 2025. But if there are German partners involved, then the project, as with bilateral project with DFG partners, will only start on April the 1st, because DFG needs more time to ratify these proposals. And also here it is in a schematic overview again, so you can see the similarities between the different calls. And so the DFG again is the special partner where there are 3-year projects. 3-year project, but you can ask for a 4-year budget. And if you include a PhD student, you need to include a PhD student for 48 months as well. So now, yeah, and this is a bit the whole overview on a time schedule is here. So currently, the call of our partners are all open. So on the 2nd of April, of 3 of our partners, the call will close. The 17th of April, the call with Luxembourg will close. So, and then always 7 days afterwards, there is this deadline on our side. Then normally mid-May, the PDR call will open at the FNRS and will close on the 9th of July. And so then afterwards, the partners should submit to their agencies 7 days afterwards. And then a second deadline is there for the Swiss in October, with, of course, also an administrative deadline for the French-speaking researchers to submit via eSpace. And then normally within our PDR call, all projects should start on January the 1st of 2025. And also the Weave projects, so those that were submitted to our partner agencies of FWO, DFG, the Swiss and FNR should start then. And then finally, as said, those projects submitted within our PDR call with partners from the TFG will start on the 1st of April of 2025. And then finally, for the second call of the Swiss in October, those projects should start on June the 1st of 2025. And if you have any questions on all of this, do not hesitate to contact us. So we have our generic email address, so international@FRS-FNRS.be that you can always contact, but you can always call us as well or write to us directly as well. So me and Florence, who will do the Q&A a bit later on. So I now pass back to Tine for the next part on how FWO does it within Weave.
Yes, thank you, Joël. Let me wait for, yes, the control. So Weave within the FWO. Here you see an overview of the previous call 2023, FWO being the lead. So as you can see, we have received a lot of proposals. So 97 eligible proposals in total. We had bilateral ones, but as you can see, also some trilateral ones. So this slide really shows the added value of Weave, or the possibilities to work together bilaterally, trilaterally, with colleagues from all over Europe. For some of the partners shown here, I have to make the small remark that, of course, it was a first call, results for a first time. So just to make sure, or to warn you, that some numbers might not be 100% representative, because it was only a first call. And yeah, this might change in the future when some collaborations will get more attention or interest. FWO being partner, last year we received 92 eligible proposals in total, and 25 got granted. So you see here that, yeah, there are again a lot of combinations made. The consortium were built with partners, with several partners, so several funding agencies were involved. When the consortium decides to submit to the FWO as lead agency, the proposal will have to be submitted to one of our regular expert panels, and it will be submitted as a junior or a senior project fundamental research. There is in our FWO ALOCAT a specific form, a specific Weave form. FWO acts as lead agency. If you want to check again the different expert panels that we have, you have a link here to the overview of all our panels. There is also more information on each scope of each panel, and our specific interdisciplinary panel that we also have in place. The FWO budget folks were updated previous call already. So for staff and consumables, at least 50,000 per year has to be requested for the entire project. So this really concerns all partners included, Flemish ones, federal, and also the non-Flemish institutions, so the Weave partners. There we have a minimum limit of 50,000 per year, and at most 145,000 euro per year per institution, Flemish or federal one, can be requested. The regulations of our research projects, fundamental research, always apply. So eligibility criteria, budget conditions, restrictions, it's all the same as for our regular research projects. Weave projects are also included in the maximum of 2 projects per application round for which you can be a researcher involved, and a maximum of 2 projects requested and ongoing. This rule is in place always at Flemish sites. So when FWO is the lead or when we are partner agency, the researchers in Flanders who are asking for FWO funding always have to take into account this quota. When FWO is in the lead, the WEAF proposals get evaluated in competition with all the other submitted research project fundamental research. We will do a funding recommendation to all the WEAF funders involved, to our partner agencies. And then after we have the ratification, each WEAF funder funds its own research teams. When we are partner agency, the proposal will be submitted to a WEAF funder abroad, to another lead agency. And this lead agency, this funding agency, is responsible for the entire evaluation. As I said before, the quota is still in place of maximally 2 projects. You have to do the administrative submission to the FWO within 7 calendar days after the deadline of the lead. Also, for this case, we have a specific form in our FWO e-locket. Research project WEAF, FWO acts as partner agency. We will wait then for the funding recommendation by the lead agency, and our board will ratify this decision. There will be no separate FWO evaluation done. We ratify the funding recommendation that will be made by the lead agency, so we trust their evaluation procedure, and we will fund the involved Flemish researchers of the application that has been proposed for funding. In the current call that just has been launched at FWO site, we will continue our collaboration with the 8 funders with whom we already had an agreement previous call as well. So this is FWO-F Austria, colleagues of the FNRS, DFG Germany, FNR Luxembourg, NCN Poland, ARIS Slovenia, SNSF Switzerland, and FORMAS Sweden. So we will not add any new partners in this call. We will just continue. The researchers in Flanders can as such submit a joint bilateral proposal to the FWO or to one of these 8 other funding agencies. And there are also the trilateral combinations possible. In the next slide, I will give you an overview of these possible combinations. In the coming years, of course, we are looking forward to take on board the remaining official WEAF partners, being GACER from the Czech Republic, RCN Norway, HRZZ Croatia, but this still has to be decided, ratified by our board, and discussions still have to be set up. Nevertheless, the colleagues from the NWO, the Netherlands, they are currently or already since the beginning of WEAF around the table as observers. So they didn't sign the WEAF agreement yet, but they are really involved and they are well aware about the procedures of WEAF. So currently the FWO is having discussions with the NWO for a WEAF pilot call. And it's possible that this will be already started in autumn this year or beginning of next year. There is no official agreement yet. We still need green light at both the NWO and the FWO side, also from the board. But please be aware that discussions are ongoing. So within the near future, normally the NWO FWO combination will become possible as well. If new partners might sign the WEAF agreement in the future, we will, of course, also have a look at the possibility to partner up with them as well. As you know, WEAF is an instrument that keeps on evolving, so we are very much looking forward if any new partners would want to partner up or sign the agreement. On this slide, you can see the additional opportunities for researchers in Flanders. So this really concerns the trilateral combinations that are possible for our researchers. When the proposal will be submitted to another lead, a lead agency abroad, FWO becomes partner agency. But as you can see here, for example, It will also become possible to work together with colleagues from Croatia to involve HRZZ as a partner agency when the proposal is submitted to the colleagues from ARIS Slovenia or the colleagues from SNSF Switzerland. Then you can extend your proposal to the colleagues of Croatia. I will now go through all the bilateral possibilities. So when you want to partner up with colleagues from Austria and the FWO is lead agency, when we are the lead, as said before, the deadline this year will be 2nd of April. Because the 1st of April is a public holiday, Easter Monday, we delayed or we postponed the deadline to the 2nd of April. Please make sure that you also respect the internal deadlines at your host institution, because this will be, of course, before the 2nd of April deadline. An administrative version always has to be submitted to the partner agency involved, in this case FWF. It is crucial here to really upload an identical PDF of what has been submitted to the FWO as lead. So as soon as you submit your application through the ALOCAT, you can download the PDF version of your final application, and this is the document that you should upload in the FWF portal when you're doing the administrative submission. At Flemish sites, always the FWO regulations apply and the project quota. As you know, Austrian partners have to follow the FWF regulations. Projects will have a duration of maximally 4 years. FWO as leads performs the evaluation. We do our funding recommendation to FWF. When FWF is a partner agency, the ratification can be possibly delayed until March. So we will have a conditional allocation in December. The contracts at FWO sites start on the 1st of January, however, but you know that at FWO site we also have our phase out flexibility rule. So up to 2 years after the official end date of the project, you can still use remaining funds at FWO site. So on paper, projects start on 1st of January, but you know that you have this flexibility to use the means up to 2 years after official end date. When the consortium decides to submit to the FWF, the cutoff date or deadline is also set on the 2nd of April. So normally FWF works with a system of continuous submission. However, when FWO is involved as partner, they agreed to also have their cutoff date on the 2nd of April. For their specific rules, you can consult the FWF website. The administrative version needs to be submitted to the FWO through the ALOCAT in time. The other conditions also are similar to the case where FWO is lead. So each party has to respect their own rules. Project duration maximally 4 years. FWF will do a funding recommendation to FWO, and it's expected by the end of this year, 2024. And at our site, again, the project start on 1st of January. On the previous slides, at this slide and the following ones, you always see in the corner at the right the trilateral possibilities as well. Then we proceed to the Swiss partners. When we are the leads, as said before, deadline is always the same. Of course, the Swiss colleagues have to respect the rules of SNSF. Project duration is still maximally 4 years, and we will have the ratification of SNSF by mid-December, so we can communicate the result together with our regular project fundamental research in December, and contracts start 1st of January. When SNSF Switzerland is in the lead, the deadline is 2nd of April. Please be aware that the October deadline of SNSF is not possible for researchers in Flanders. So it's only the April deadline that makes it possible to collaborate with Swiss colleagues, SNSF as leads within WEAF. The SNSF performs the evaluation, and we can still expect their funding recommendation before the end of the year, so projects can start 1st of January. Then we come to the Luxembourg partners. Sorry. Yes, of course. So FWO is the lead. Here it is crucial to say that when we are the lead and you're partnering up with Luxembourg colleagues, project duration is maximally 4 years, also at Luxembourg side. But this is different when FNRS is in the lead. I will come to that on the next slide. It's again the same procedure and the same timing. So we will communicate the results together with the regular project mid-December, and at FWO side you can start 1st of January. When FNR Luxembourg is in the lead, the deadline is the 17th of April. You can check the regulations on their FNR website. You do the administrative submission to FWO. But about the project duration, it can be maximally 3 years, both at Luxembourg side and at FWO side. However, a PhD in the 4th year is allowed. So in case a PhD student is requested in the 4th year at FNR sites, the Flemish applicants are also allowed to apply for a 4th budget year, but it can only concern PhD related costs. And of course, it has to be scientifically motivated in a very clear way. FNR will do the funding recommendation also before the end of the year. So again, at FWO side, the project can start on paper on the 1st of January 2025. Submission to FWO as leads. When Slovenian colleagues are involved, ARIS as partner agency, it is very important to know that the administrative submission to ARIS needs to be done also the 2nd of April before 5 p.m. And a copy of the complete application as it was submitted to FWO needs to be submitted as well to ARIS within 7 days after FWO deadline. So please be aware that here at Slovenian sites, ARIS as partner agency, you need to take, in fact, 2 steps to be completely in line with the regulations of ARIS. The project duration, when we are the lead, it's maximally 4 years. We do the funding recommendations and everything will be communicated by mid-December. We start on 1st of January at FWO site. When ARIS is the lead, FWO is partner agency. The current call was just closed on the 12th of January. So a next call will be launched probably in autumn, but the exact dates are not yet known. Please be aware that when ARIS is the lead agency, the project duration is maximally 3 years. Also at the Flemish side, also at FWO side, you can only request budget for maximally 3 years. ARIS will do a funding recommendation that will be ratified by the FWO Board of Trustees. And at FWO side, projects always start on 1st of January. Partnering up with colleagues from Germany. Project duration is always maximally 3 years. So whenever a German partner is involved, DFG is involved, being lead or being partner agency, the project duration is always maximally 3 years, even when it's submitted to FWO, in trilateral projects as well. So in this case, no 4th year can be requested, not on FWO side either. The ratification by DFG can only be done in spring. So again, just like we had with FWF Austria as partner agency, here it is the case as well. DFG as partner, we do a conditional allocation in December, but on paper, projects start on 1st of January at FWO site. When DFG is lead agency, they normally work with a system of continuous submission, but they also agreed to have a cutoff date for FWO as partner being on the 2nd of April. So whenever you want to submit a project proposal involving DFG as lead agency, FWO as partner, make sure to submit it somewhere between now and definitely before the 2nd of April. Project duration, as I said before, maximally 3 years. DFG does a funding recommendation to FWO, we ratify, and this is all expected for December, so before the end of the year. 1st of January is the starting date at FWO sites. Then we have our Polish partners. Here it's also crucial to upload an identical PDF when you do the administrative submission to NCN. Make sure that it's an identical copy of the entire application as submitted to the FWO as lead. You also have to be careful in drafting the proposals because there are some elements that might impact your eligibility at Polish sites. So you cannot mention any names of Polish PhD students or postdocs due to the obligatory open selection procedure at NCN site. You should also carefully justify the budget for the Polish team, and you should make sure to use the exchange rate of NCN. On the FWO webpage regarding WEAV, we have a link directly towards this document regarding the exchange rate. So please be careful when calculating your budgets or indicating this in the application forms. Project duration maximally 4 years. We will have the ratification of NCN before end of the year. Project start on 1st of January. When NCN is the lead, the current call actually recently closed on the 15th of December. Next call will probably be launched mid-September, but we will communicate in advance as soon as we have the exact dates. NCN performs the evaluation according to their procedure. We will ratify their funding recommendation. Please be aware that start of the contract is 1st of January 2026 for the next call that will be launched. Polish researchers may start earlier. Colleagues from Sweden, so FORMAS being the involved funding agency, all the FWO regulations apply for the Flemish researchers, and the Swedish partners have to follow the rules of FORMAS. This also concerns the focus of FORMAS. So Swedish researchers and the Swedish part of your joint WEAV proposal have to follow the restriction within FORMAS areas of responsibility. So the Swedish part really has to concerns the topics environment, agricultural sciences, and spatial planning. It's also about fundamental basic research, but really specifically with a focus on those three topics or domains, areas of responsibility, as FORMAS calls it. The project duration, FWO has a maximum 4 years possibility, but it will always be maximally 3 years at Swedish site. So here there is also a difference in the project duration that is possible. FORMAS will ratify our results. By the end of the year, we start on the 1st of January again. When FORMAS is in the lead, the launch date and the deadline of their new call for 2024 is not yet decided, but we expect an update somewhere in spring. As soon as we have this information, we will update our web pages and we will clearly, widely communicate this towards you and the host institutions in Flanders, of course. Here again, also when FORMAS is the lead, you have to take into account the areas of responsibility at Swedish sites. Project duration is maximally 4 years at FWO sites and maximally 3 years at FORMAS sites. So we don't know yet, of course, when to expect the funding recommendations since we don't know the deadline and the launch date yet of FORMAS, but this will become clear, we hope, in spring. Some points of attention that we really wanted to stress out. Please make sure to clearly indicate and scientifically justify the budgets of all included teams, regardless of the fact where you submit, because the lead agency will evaluate all budgets requested, so also from foreign research teams. That's why you have to really give the complete picture of your proposal, of all partners involved. You should also make sure that the names of the main applicants and the requested budgets in the lead agency application is identical to the names and requested budgets in the administrative submissions to partner agencies, because discrepancies between the lead agency submission and the partner agency submission might lead to ineligibility. There are some partners within WEAV who really have strict rules for this, and who might declare a project proposal ineligible if there are any discrepancies regarding these factors. Of course, you should also respect the FWO budget forks in all cases. Another point of attention, so despite the fact that in some of the application forms of some lead agencies, for example, NCN Poland, there you can only name the main applicants and other research team members are anonymous. Despite this, it is required in the FWO administrative submission that you really list all persons, Flemish and non-Flemish, that will take up an official role in the consortium. So you should not only name the supervisor spokesperson, but all supervisors and co-supervisors. Please don't forget the obligatory administrative submission to each partner agency involved. This also can lead to ineligibility if this step is forgotten. This is really crucial because it's also needed for the eligibility check that is performed by each funder. So make sure to upload in the administrative submission to the partner agency the complete and identical application with all attachments that was submitted to the lead agency. So it's not only the project description, but it's really the entire application that went to the lead agency. You cannot submit an identical WEAV project to more than one funding agency in the same budget year. This is not allowed, so a parallel submission is not allowed. As said in the previous slide, the project duration might be different depending on where you submit, on the choice of the lead agency. FWO has an overview regarding this maximum project duration for the researchers in Flanders. You can follow the link afterwards. The success rate of the lead agency applies, but within WEAV, it's kept at 20%. So this is really the WEAV threshold. Communication with researchers is always done through the lead agency where you submitted your proposal. If you want more information, you can find here the link to the WEAV web page. We also have some specific FWO websites regarding WEAV. We have a separate one, FWO Access Lead Agency, and another one, FWO as Partner Agency. And for the specific WEAV contacts, you can find them here on the slide. You can always email to weav@fwo.be. I will be handling normally your request or your message, but you can also contact the specific colleagues. Our head international affairs, Isabel, myself, advisor international affairs, Tina, and the science policy advisor international affairs, Gregory Apsilis, who's also present here. I thank you for your attention, and I'll give the floor now to Florence for the Q&A round.
Thank you very much, Tina. So here we are for the Q&A. So first of all, in order for you to note that all the slides and the video recording of this information session will be made available on both our websites, so the FWO and the FRS, FNRS. So if you have any need for further information, or if you didn't understand part of this recording of this presentation, make sure you can always go and have a look at the info session again. Then we have a first question that we received through the registration website. So is there a higher success rate for WEAV collaborative projects or some incentive compared to individual national grants? So no, there isn't any incentive, nor is there a higher success rate applied for those projects. So please note that those projects, as explained very well by Joël and Tina, they're not evaluated separately from the other projects from the regular projects from the agency. So your WEAV application is evaluated in competition with all the other applications submitted to the lead agency. There is a cap of success rate, which is an agreed cap between the funding agencies. It is at 20%. It is the WEAV threshold. So most funding agencies have a success rate of about 20%. So this is not out of the ordinary. So just make sure that your proposal is within the top 20% and then you'll be funded. What is the financing rate percentage for FWO as lead agency for WEAV? So the success rate for the lead agency applies, but it's capped at 20%, the WEAV threshold. But of course, as I just said, most funding agencies have a success rate of about 20%. When the application is submitted at the FWO as a lead, then it will be evaluated within the regular channels of the FWO. So it will be in competition again with all the other junior, senior projects for fundamental research. We had a third question. So can researchers from non-WEAV partners, for example, universities in Spain, be linked to projects without financing for their contribution? And can research be conducted outside of Europe with WEAV partners and partners from, for example, LMIC countries, for example, for research on tropical diseases? So from the FWO side, the researchers from a non-WEAV partner can be involved, but in an informal way. So they will not be formal partners, and they certainly cannot request any FWO funding. They can, of course, participate on their own fund. Please note that within a WEAV project, it is not possible at FWO side to include a non-Flemish institution other than the involved foreign WEAV partner for up to 10% of the total project funding. This is in contrast with the regular projects in which you can include that scheme, but for WEAV projects, it is not allowed. Concerning the FNRS, the research can be conducted outside of Europe, but however, of course, you must know that the FNRS can only fund the institutions from the Wallonia-Brussels Federation, so we cannot fund foreign partners. So the other partners will therefore have to find their own funding sources. Then we had a question, we didn't quite understand where it stemmed from. Is it an open call? So if this question applies to the scientific domains, so WEAV is a completely bottom-up initiative, so there are no thematic restrictions, apart from, of course, funding agencies which have thematic restrictions, such as FWO-F.R.S that Tina just talked about. And so when becoming an official partner, each funder integrates WEAV in an already existing funding channel for fundamental basic research. That's the basic point of WEAV. If it refers to the submission period, so most WEAV funders work with specific call launches and deadlines. Some funders have continuous submissions, such as DFG, FWO-F, but they agreed when they work with funders that have cutoff dates, such as FWO and the FNRS, they agreed to have a fake cutoff date just for this collaboration. Then we have another question about somebody being a co-promoter of a WEAV project, where FWO is the lead, that started in 2023. Can a new proposal be submitted with colleagues from the FWO? So at FWO side, regardless of the fact if FWO is lead or partner agencies, the WEAV projects are always taken into account for the maximum 2 research projects for fundamental research. So make sure that your partner also falls within these restrictions. They also fall within the rule stating that the total number of research projects fundamental research applied for and currently ongoing in the name of one person cannot be more than 2 on the started date of the new granted project. From the FNRS side, you can accumulate both a PDR and a WEAV project at the same time. Therefore, since you have now a WEAV with FWO as lead, you could apply for a PDR in the 2024 call, provided, of course, that you have no ongoing PDR at the moment. Another question was, can different institutions from the involved regions participate, or should the project be restricted to one institution, university per involved region? So this strongly depends on the individual requirements for each funding agency. So we encourage you to really look at the requirements for each funding agency when you participate with a partner and see what their restrictions are. Normally, your partner working with you will know the restrictions already, so they will be familiar, and that's the strength of WEAV, that they will be familiar with the procedures of that agency already. Now, concerning the specific cases that we have here, so at FWO side, it's possible to involve different Flemish or federal host institutions within their own requested budget, as long as the scientific added value of each researcher or research group involved is clearly justified in the application. On FNRS side, as you know, it's only possible to have one promoter and one co-promoter, and the co-promoter has to be from a different institution than that of the promoter. So this is the restriction concerning FNRS. Is there a difference in the budget available depending on whether an FWB institution joins a project with an FWO leading as partner or the other way around? So for the FWO, no, the Flemish researchers, the budget conditions, restrictions are the same regardless of the fact that FWO is lead or partner agency. And FNRS, same answer. The annual mean costs are the same for a weave or for a PDR. Of course, I have to give a small precision. As you have seen for PDR with DFG, the budget is not exactly the same, but you can check that in our information pages. Then we had a question. Oh, it's apparently not the right PDF, so I will change that afterwards. So is this grant for a short or long-term stay? So please note that these weave collaborations are not schemes aimed for mobility. Of course, within a project, you can fund mobility through the project, but it's not aimed at mobility. And here you can find the websites for both travel grants, and our website should be here, but it will be in the final version that you have on our website. Is it an asset if the partners can show that they had previous collaborations, or is Weave rather aiming at gathering groups that never cooperated before? So as you must know, Weave is not specifically targeted at the establishment of new collaborations. The main evaluation criteria here within Weave is scientific excellence. So no matter if the partner are new partners or already had previous collaborations, it doesn't matter for the evaluation. Of course, it is important to show the interest of the collaboration and that this collaboration will greatly benefit the project. So all included partners should have an added value, and the consortium composition needs to be thoroughly scientifically justified in the proposal, as well as the budget requested, because this is part of the evaluation. How to best tackle the proposal resubmission given the feedback received in the previous round? So first of all, you should make sure to clearly and scientifically justify in the resubmission what changes you have made in comparison to the previous project proposal. You have to take into account the feedback received in the previous round as well. For example, how did you adapt the work packages based on the feedback? What changes are made to the budget, planned activities, timeline, etc. And these are specific sections I know for the FNRS side and probably for the FWO. These are specific sections in which you can justify how your proposal has changed, and you should clearly outline it. Is it possible to submit a project bringing together researchers from FWO and FNRS and another partner? So as explained very carefully and thoroughly before, trilateral collaborations are possible, but it depends on the lead agency chosen. Some partners may differ. For the opportunities, you can check both our websites to see which trilateral collaborations are available. So if we are the lead agency at the FNRS, you can have partner trilateral collaborations with FWO, SNSF, FNR, and DFG. If FWO is the lead agency, then you can have a trilateral collaboration with Austria, FWO-F, SNSF, DFG, FNR, ARIS, of course us, the FNRS, and NCN and FORMAS. But please check our websites. Everything is very clearly stated. Then we had another question, but I cannot see it for some reason. Okay, never mind. So all budgets requested at the lead agency plus at the partner agency should be clearly indicated and scientifically justified, as mentioned before. This is part of the evaluation. So the evaluators every time they look at a project, they will also look at the budget. So you need to justify what you're asking the budget for. So it's mandatory since the lead agency is responsible for the evaluation of the entire project proposal. How and where to list these details depends on the application form of each lead agency. So the best practice is to check first the requirements of the lead agency and start your online application as soon as you can to see what is being requested, which format, etc. Some agencies want to have Excel files, some have an in-house form. So please check, and it doesn't hurt to look at the online application before the deadline, of course. And make sure that the requested budget in the lead agency applications are identical to what you request to your partner agency. So this is very important, and it could be very well something that denies you eligibility if the numbers are different. So make sure that the forms in general, the titles, the PDF, everything is identical in both agencies. So that concludes all the questions that we had before. But of course, we welcome questions that are coming in as we are speaking right now. So I will stop sharing my presentation. And now maybe we can, if you want to ask questions through the Q&R form, please do so. We have no problem. For example, I have a first question that maybe Joël, you can answer. Why is the FNRS deadline a few months later, despite the same deadline for proposal evaluation? And Tina wants to also respond.
Okay, I think that over the years, the FNRS and the FWO have developed their evaluation procedures separately. And so within the FNRS procedure, it is tradition to have our call at the end of spring and close at the beginning of July, after which there is first an eligibility check. Then there is an external peer review evaluation, after which we have evaluation panels during the month of October, and the funding decisions are prepared in November and ratified during our board of trustees in December. This is the way it works on FNRS side, and I let Tina explain how it works on FWO side.
No, I just wanted to briefly comment upon this question live by stating that as soon as the FNRS has launched its call, we will also open up our application form. Of course, FWO acts as partner agency because this is not yet published in our FWO e-loket, of course, because the call is not open at lead agency side. So I just wanted to inform the researchers in Flanders that whenever a lead agency opens a call, we will make sure that the administrative submission is also opened up.
Okay, very well. Then we have a few questions, a few interests for collaboration between the French-speaking part of Belgium and Norway. Will it be possible? Joël, maybe.
Yes, indeed. I think there's a couple of questions that go together. So there's a couple of questions on will collaborations with FNRS with other European countries be possible? Norway in particular, add new funding agencies. So for the moment, the FNRS works with 4 partners within WEAV. WEAV is a consortium of a total of 12 agencies. So there is the possibility to have more partners. The procedure to have more partners is straightforward. Our board of trustees needs to approve these extensions. And so I think that if you as researchers would like to have other partners included within the WEAV scheme, it would be very good to indicate this to the people on the board of trustees of the FNRS, that there is an interest to have more partners included. If I am not mistaken, Norway, so RCN is theoretically a partner within WEAV, but they do not, as of yet, have any collaborations within WEAV, if I'm not mistaken. And Tina, can you confirm that, or perhaps this has changed in the meantime?
No, indeed. Until today, the colleagues of RCN didn't have any active role yet. They didn't launch any weave call yet. Maybe I can reply to another question live that has been asked. So some of you here present informs us that you applied last year to a weave project with FWO as lead, and it's regarding the rebuttal. So indeed, in the feedback document, it seems to be stated that there was no rebuttal provided by the applicants, and it seems you didn't receive any emails about this possibility. So I would kindly advise you to send a message to weave@fwo.be with your project number, so we can further discuss this by phone or by email, because it's kind of difficult now to reply to this question. But normally there is always a rebuttal phase in place when FWO is lead. So let's find this out by email or phone. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I can quickly add something to that. So the date the rebuttal will be sent out when FWO is the lead agent is already announced on our website for the junior senior projects fundamental research. So I advise all supervisor spokespersons to put that agenda in, to put that date in your agenda so you can, within the time frame, respond in a rebuttal on all the peer review reports you will be receiving. The date is already known, so advice is to put it in your agenda so you can take it into account.
It's between the 9th and the 20th of September 2024, to be very precise. So
Okay, then we had a question on in 2024, will there be any possibility? Oh no, we answered that one already. Collaboration between Norway and FNRS. So sorry, it's already answered. There's a specific, will there be a specific webinar presenting the PDR guidelines coming soon?
Yes, in this case, this is there will not be any specific information session for the PDR call. I think you need to make a good distinction between the calls where the FNRS participates as a partner agency. So the calls that, in essence, where you're the German, the Luxembourg, the Swiss, or the Flemish colleagues need to submit on their side, including the partners from French-speaking Belgium, and the PDR call of the FNRS, which is our usual summer call, where you can include weave partners or not, of course. So it's really, and that's what we try to make clear all the time as well. It's either you submit in the call of one of our partners, and it is called weave, either you submit to a PDR, and if you submit to a PDR, PDR rules apply, and you can submit a PDR with or without weave partners.
Then we have another question, maybe Grégory, you can answer. Do you have any priority themes? Is there a breakdown between the major areas?
Well, we make use of our junior senior project scheme fundamental research, and there's actually an equal success rate for all domains based on the budget applied for. So we don't prioritize across different disciplines.
Yeah, and I can confirm that it's exactly the same at the FNRS side. So we have equal success rates throughout all our commissions as well. So maybe a more specific FNRS question. Suppose I apply for a bilateral FNRS DFG project via the FNRS PDR scheme to fund a PhD project. The PhD student will thus be hosted in Belgium, but to justify the bilateral application, the PDF project must, for example, include regular research visits in the partner institution in Germany to share expertise. And probably it applies also to FWO. Is it correct? Is it the most suitable scheme for such a project? Maybe Joël and Tina or Grégory, you can comment. So if you have a bilateral project, for example, with Germany, do you have to justify research days from your PhD to regularly go to Germany?
Well, I guess that depends a bit on the project needs. So, of course, if you want to set up a bilateral with DFG, first of all, the need to have that German partner on board already needs to be clear. And then, of course, the staff that you will be hiring needs to be in line with the project needs. So if the project, for example, only needs a PhD student on the Flemish or the Walloon side, that is perfectly fine, I would say. But if there is, I mean, I would not say it's necessary that the student travels back and forth. It depends a bit on the project needs. But of course, if expertise needs to be exchanged, etc., and the PhD student needs to do experiments in Germany, then of course, budget needs to be foreseen for that. But it all depends a bit on the project needs.
Mhm.
Yes, and there's nothing I can add to this explanation. I think it's really, it all depends on the project. If the project needs a PhD to spend time in both locations, then of course this is beneficial. But if the project needs require a PhD to work only in one location, this is also good as well. It depends on the project.
It, of course, I mean, we always, I mean, as it's an international and I mean a European integrated project, I mean exchange of people is of course within the spirit of the scheme, but it's not a necessity, I would say.
Yes. There is also a question, and I think both of FNRS and FWO should answer. I understand the choice of lead partner directly influences who is going to evaluate the proposal. Are there other aspects to consider in making that choice? For example, respective seniorities of PIs, etc. So maybe Gregory first.
Well, I guess I mean we've heard the presentation showing various timelines. So, for example, the timeline can be a decisive factor on when you want to submit a particular project. I would say project durations differ sometimes depending on who acts as the lead. That might be a factor as well. For example, if you think, for example, FWO works with a junior senior division. If you think, I mean, if you like that division, then you should submit to FWO, I would say. But also the schemes our partners use abroad might have particularities that suit your project better. So I think it depends a bit on various combinations of different aspects.
Joël, do you want to add to that?
I saw you wanted to add to that, in fact, in our chat.
No, I mean, for FNRS, as Gregory said, you have to look at the globality of the project, where is the most added value. And of course, yeah, timelines are always important. Who does the evaluation? We all agree with all the funding agencies. Of course, we have different procedures, but we all agree that we have roughly the same way to evaluate projects. So it's all based on scientific excellence. So there are no differences in between our main goal, which is just to fund scientific excellence within the WEAV partners. And that's how we entered that partnership, and that's how we're working together. So that's what you should know for now.
Yes, just to add one small, very practical thing on the FNRS side. So it's very simple. In fact, if you already have a running PDR, you cannot submit another PDR. So then you would be obliged to go with your partner in that call as well, and you cannot apply in the PDR call.
And we have one elephant in the room, maybe beyond the call of the WEAV call, but for FNRS, FWO collaboration, there were the 2 EOS calls in the past. Do you already have any insights on whether there will be a new call in the future? Because especially for financing a postdoc, the budgets correspond only to postdocs in postdoc scholarships. And Tina is very eager to respond.
Yes, thank you for this EOS-related question. So very recently, actually, the FWO Board of Trustees has decided to further optimize and expand actually the collaboration possibilities within Belgium, so between French-speaking community and Flanders, to really focus more on the funding through WEAV. So at FWO side through our channel for regular projects, because there are quite some benefits related to the WEAV program. One of them is actually the yearly call. So this is really an opportunity for researchers in Flanders and the French-speaking community to work together on a project proposal on a yearly basis. There are also other conditions. For example, the consortium doesn't have to be so big. Within the EOS program, there were a lot of conditions related to the composition of the consortium. Within the WEAV initiative, the conditions are maybe less strict in some way. So that is why the FWO Board of Trustees actually decided that there will not be another EOS call in this year or the future. And we will really focus now at FWO sites on the WEAV initiative. I'm not sure if FNRS wants to add something.
I can just add a very small comment, is that indeed the FWO Board of Trustees decided to not continue EOS, and so we are now discussing with FWO at the moment to see if we can perhaps optimize WEAV collaboration between so both sides of Belgium to see if we can have certain elements of EOS within WEAV. But this is a very preliminary discussion, and this should really be worked out.
Sorry. Then we have some other questions concerning if we can have a well change project or be a co-promoter of a PDR project and still apply for a WEAV project through the FNRS as lead agency. So first of all, let me give you a clarification. If you apply to a WEAV project, FNRS is never the lead agency. That means you always apply to another agency. Now we have to see if you can have a well change and a PDR at the same time. I think it's still okay. And you're a co-promoter. So in theory, you could apply to a PDR this year. And that would be your two PDR as promoter and PDR as co-promoter projects, your maximum two. So it would be possible. But once again, I want to stress, if you're doing a WEAV project, you're outside of the FNRS, you're applying at a partner agency. Then there is another question. Is it possible to hire a postdoc on a 50% basis, one from the project partner university and the other from the other partner university? So can you split a postdoc, basically? Maybe Grégory and Joël? Or Tina and Joël?
I think it's maybe very similar to the question we had on the PhD students. So if the project on each site only requires a 50% postdoc, that is, I think, possible. And yeah, so if it's 50% here, 50% abroad, that's fine. I think, of course, this needs to be in line with the hiring policy of the involved host institution. So I would definitely check that with the HR department of your institution, whether such a construction is from an HR point of view feasible. But if it's reflecting the project needs from that side on, it's, I think, fine.
Yes, and the same answer applies for the FNRS side. Of course, you can apply for a postdoc for 50%, and you can also apply for a PhD student for 50% as well. So that's yeah, these are all ways that you can. It should suit your the money that you need to fulfill your research project in the most optimal manner.
And similarly, there was another question about if it's possible to mention the name of a prospective postdoctoral student for the FNRS when you apply. Yes, it is possible. So if you want to highlight the role that this potential postdoc will have in your project, you can you can do it. You can mention it. There's no problem. So there is another question aimed at the FWO. Is there always a restriction for 2 running projects for 1 PI for FWO? Does it include all projects, even, for example, a Quantera? And is Quantera counted as a project funded by the FWO? Maybe Tina, you would know?
I was typing the answer actually.
Okay.
So indeed, this quota at the FWO site for the researchers in Flanders really concern the program of the regular project fundamental research, including WEAV, of course. So Quantera is not counted in this quota of maximum 2.
And EOS is also not included. I saw some
Indeed.
questions
Yeah.
whether EOS, running EOS was also taken into account for the maximum of 2. That's also not the case. So it only focuses on our junior senior project, fundamental research, and WEAV, as Tina mentioned.
And somebody asking, is it possible to finance a sabbatical?
Yeah, I also saw that question, and I think the specifics are to be free from the host institution to work together on a publication. At FWO, that's not possible on a junior senior project fundamental research, so we don't fund sabbaticals on that. But I would like to highlight that we have a call for a bench fee in the framework of a sabbatical leave. So if you're planning on going on a sabbatical, I would advise you to go and check our website and have a particular look at that funding scheme.
Yes, and on FNRS side, this is similar. We have FWO and FRS, the same origins and some similar instruments, and this instrument is called Mission Scientifique on the FNRS side, and it's a call that's currently open, and you need to contact le rectorat, as we say in French, so the presidency of your university, because it's an application that goes through the presidency of the university.
And somebody is complaining that they received very vague feedback on their application by the reviewers, and they would like to resubmit, but how can they do it on this vague feedback? And that is very unfortunate. Since we don't know the specifics, I cannot really comment on that. We always strive to have very thorough feedbacks to our projects, and I don't think I can help you much with this. I don't know if anyone else wants to comment. No. And I think there are no more questions. There is a specific question for an FNRS lead agency, PDR submission with 1 partner from FWB and 1 from Flanders. Is the budget, for example, for a PhD salary to be calculated based on all 4 years in an FWB uni, or should it be based on each 2 years at each of partner uni? So I think that it's a question on maybe co-PhD students. So if the PhD is to be shared, if I can use that sentence, that word, shared between 2 universities, then you'll have to see within which institution what is the salary requirement for the PhD. So this you need to calculate, but you can also always have a PhD specifically at the FWB side and a PhD specifically at the FWO site as well. Maybe Grégory, you want to add something?
No, I think the only thing I might want to add is something I already said before. Also in regular FWO projects or WEAV, or in a WEAV context, if you already know who you will be hiring, you can always contact your research coordination office of your research institution, and they'll be able to tell you exactly, based on anciennity and things like that, what amount of money for a particular person you should request But this is highly dependent on, of course, the specifics of the person you want to hire. So.
Yes, and it does not only apply to PhDs; it also applies to postdocs and all other personnel as well. And I think that concludes all the questions. Somebody asked if a PhD student asked if they could apply, but of course, both at FNRS and FWO, only permanent staff is allowed to apply to the calls. So if you're a PhD student, you cannot apply, but your promoter can for sure. And I guess we have no more questions coming in. So everything was clear. So maybe we can conclude, I guess. So as we mentioned, the session is recorded. We'll post the recording on our respective websites. We'll also post the video, so the recording video and the PowerPoint presentation, the finalized one, I promised. And we'll try to get together all the questions and that we had today, and provide you with also a Q&A document, so that if you have further questions, you can find the answers in that document. And as a final remark, maybe don't hesitate to contact us. We're here for you. We're here to answer your questions. And if you have specific things you want to get into, then we're always there. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.